Welcome, podcast listeners, to the most macho horror movie podcast in the known multiverse. Why, it's dead and lovely. Let's do the whole thing in wrestle voice. What do you think? Can you do it?
Okay. Listen to me, Mean Gene. We're going to talk about what lies beneath.
I mean, everybody talks about like how all of them were hooked on like alcohol and pain pills and stuff like this, but I bet like there was a huge like Ludens and Halls addiction going through the entire wrestling league. How did those guys keep those voices up, man?
There had to be.
A pack of Halls a day habit.
I guarantee you it was like in Randy Savage's rider that like he had to have some hot tea and honey.
Please, for the love of God, my throat is killing me. Why, it's dead and lovely here with the host with the most. It's me, your good buddy, Uncle Ben.
And me, Hollywood Steve.
And we're here to give you guys our thoughts on a little movie called What Lies Beneath, as well as shoot the shit, drink some beers, and just do some catching up because it has been another long weekend lockdown without my Steve. So I want to find out what that boy's been up to. How you been doing this week, Steve?
Long weekend lockdown. Just locking it down, man. Not a whole lot. Really just chilling, minding my business. My wife and I had the old anniversary. Did I talk about that?
Oh,
already?
you and the old ball and chain, huh?
Yeah. I didn't talk about that already because last week we recorded on Tuesday. My anniversary was Wednesday. So Wednesday, Emily and I had the options of getting drunk and staying home or staying home and getting drunk.
Ooh,
so we did both.
That's a tough choice. Yeah, that's a good call. Mm-hmm. Just get them both done just in case.
I also, as I said, had pizza for the first time in about a year.
Was it a taste of the old country?
Oh, man. Let me tell you this. The dough, the sauce, the cheese, a marron, manja bafangul.
It's just like Noni used to make back in the old country.
Back in the old country. The spratlings are definitely Italian. Anyway, so I as I said last week, I was not sure if I'd be able to get through a piece. So I grabbed the biggest piece because I was like, this will probably be the only piece I can eat. And I did have to take a break after the biggest piece, but I got 2 pieces down, Ben.
Look out,
2.
dude.
Yeah.
And isn't it wild? Like, don't you remember being like 12 years old and eating a whole large pizza? How in the fuck did we do that?
A year ago, I could have eaten that whole large pizza, but yeah, now it's just like, like after a piece, I was like, okay, this is as full as I've been in a long time. And then I was like, but it's so good. I have to force myself.
Well, that's the thing, though, is like, you know, considering you've been living so low carb for so long, like full on meat and veggies is a different kind of full than like, I'm full of bread. It's a different feeling.
It really is. I actually hadn't felt that sort of like pushing against the walls of your stomach type of full in a long time. And I don't miss it, honestly.
But do you miss the pizza?
I do miss pizza so much. It was so good. This was the first time I had eaten out at all since the pandemic started. Of course, we didn't go in and eat. We ate at home, but we ordered pizza from my favorite place here in Knoxville, which is Wise Guys Pizza. And man, I'll tell you what, totally worth it. Delicious. Awesome stuff.
Nice, man. Sounds like you guys had yourself a pretty good old time.
Oh yeah, we got drunk, had some pizza, and hung out, and Emily painted my toenails, so you can tell the night went well.
Splendid. That's awesome, man. You been watching anything good this week?
That night actually we watched Villains, which you had recommended with Bill Skarsgård and Micah Monroe from It Follows.
It really flew under the radar. Like, Kate and I watched that on a whim a couple months ago, and we didn't know anything about it. We just watched the trailer, and we were like, oh, this looks kind of cool and fucked up.
Yeah.
Pretty neat. Did you like it?
It is. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It reminded me of a few things, but it was also, I would say, pretty unique. It was, I think it had a Coen Brothers kind of humor to it a little bit.
I can see that. Dark and dry, yeah.
Yeah, dark and dry, but it was definitely its own sort of thing. And Bill Skarsgård was great. Michael Monroe was great. What's his name? Gosh, I cannot remember that guy's name from that show on USA where Burn Notice. Burn Notice guy was in it. He's really good. And also, what's her name?
That lady.
the skinny lady. The closer.
Yeah. What's her name is on there? Fuck, what is her name?
She was so good. Anyway,
we had a lot of fun watching turns in there too. It gets pretty dark.
It do, for sure.
I'm glad you liked it.
But yeah, I had a good time watching that. And I also watched the Dark Side of the Ring episode on the Road Warriors / Legion of Doom.
Yeah, LOD, dude.
Dude, those guys, I like seriously, they were just mean, tough, bully dudes who were barroom brawlers who became wrestlers.
So they walked the walk, you're saying?
They were bad asses, yes.
Damn. I had no idea.
Yeah, and also I never realized like just how big they were. Those guys were gigantic dudes.
Really?
They were so huge. Not like as far as height. I think they're probably about 6', 6'2", whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But both of them had to be 300 pounds around of just sheer muscle.
Damn, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's all steroids. Like, they talk about it in the episode. Like, they were very much on steroids.
They're both dead now, aren't they?
Oh, no. One of them is dead. And Animal's still alive.
Okay, I think Hawk died. Yeah. R.I.P. See you at the crossroads, Hawk.
Yeah, for sure. Animal is in the documentary a good bit and talks like openly about it. So like it is interesting to see like how 80s wrestling really was in a lot of ways. These bad fuckers, like these hardcore dudes, and then some bodybuilder guys.
Yeah.
You watch guys like Hogan winning the championship knowing you could destroy him in an actual fight.
Yeah, it's changed so much, man. I mean, it's like these days you can go into becoming a wrestler so that you could later become an actor or, a political official.
Route. Yeah. Or if you, want to up your stock in professional wrestling, you can start doing mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
Then come back to professional wrestling and everybody's like, oh, he's a legit badass. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different kind of world. I'd like to watch that, man. It sounds like that's pretty badass because those two, they were always ones that like my brother and I would like play pretend as when we were kids and stuff, you know? We always thought that they were the most coolest. Awesome. Yeah, their costumes and everything were always super dope.
They made all that shit themselves. They came up with all like the paint and stuff. Like all that was their ideas. And it's just these guys that, again, it's so weird to hear that those were their ideas because they're just talking about like beating dudes up and like doing drugs and shit. And then it's like, they also have this artistic side.
Oh, they had to have little craft nights to put spikes on the shoulder pads.
Exactly.
That's adorable.
And they're doing their own paint in the back and stuff. Like, it's crazy.
Good for them, man. Well, I hung out with you a little bit there the other night during the old streaming chat that we do on Discord every week. We dropped in for a second there and hung out before we started the What Lies Beneath, the subject of the show today. And Joe Bob Briggs was hosting a presentation of a little Troma flick.
Yeah, Troma's War, which starts like Lost, basically. The beginning of Troma's War is the beginning of Lost. So, what's up, J.J. Abrams? You stealing from Troma? What's going on?
Everything that I saw just seemed like it was a bunch of making fun of people with AIDS and people getting raped in a jungle and lots of shooting. Yeah,
Troma movies don't hold up.
No.
They don't. They don't hold up at all. They don't.
But then it's like whenever you see stuff with Lloyd Kaufman, as we saw lots of
he was
between segments
being interviewed in between,
I don't think that he does anything maliciously. Like, I don't think that he's really out to literally make fun of people with AIDS and be malicious or anything like that. Like,
no,
he's just such a fucking screwball weird guy. I don't think he can have a malicious bone in his body, you know?
Well, yeah,
I'm not making excuses. I'm not making excuses for any of it, but
well, I think we do have to. We have to let two periods clash here, and that one period was a period in fighting for free speech, and the more current period where we're telling people, yeah, you can say whatever you want, but like legit, you need to understand you're hurting people.
Yeah.
And like, yes, you can say any word you want. No one can arrest you. No one can, take your home away. But if you get your money from the people and the people don't like you anymore, your money goes away if you keep upsetting them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the new world. That's the world we live in. So free speech was defended. You did it. Way to go. Defended. We showed everybody you should be able to say whatever the hell you want and show whatever the hell you want and do whatever the hell you want. Yes. Now there is the world of repercussion.
Right, yeah, there's consequences that follow these things up too.
Yes. The world where somebody can say directly, like, hey, when you keep making fun of gay people, I'm gay. It hurts me.
Yeah, these are real people.
Please. Yes. Like, that's, it's just a constant situation of older people with this idea that it's all about free speech. And it's like, yes, we fought that fight. We're there. You've reached the mountaintop. You literally can say whatever you want. You're no longer fighting anyone. Please just consider other people's feelings.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Yeah.
And I kind of got the impression too that I think Joe Bob wasn't exactly nuts about hanging out with Lloyd.
You said that, and I did start to see that. I think some of it was that Lloyd really was going over time.
God, he was talking and talking. Don't get me wrong, like he's a treat, but it's just like, okay, man, there are time limits to this stuff.
Yeah, but I think the other thing was that just this week, Joe Bob was in some hot water because an article he had written in the past that was, I would say, out of context, just looking at it, is gently poking fun at the expanding of LGBTQIA+, like the addition of letters, etc. Mm-hmm. And maybe like just giving it my most generous reading for a man who's done so much for the horror community. The most generous reading, maybe just saying like, in the end of the day, none of that matters. Like, we're all people. But the problem is that it was on a website owned by a Nazi.
Oh, shit.
And when you put that in context, you can't have a gentle ribbing of the LGBT community in the context of Nazism.
No, context matters.
So, yeah, the context matters. Now, Joe Bob has come out and tried to explain, like, listen, this is a guy who gave me a lot of chances early on, and I was trying to help him out, and I did not know about these things, etc. And I think it does kind of help, especially if you kind of look at it in context and realize, like, this is Joe Bob's thing. He playfully pokes fun at stuff. It's a character. He's supposed to be this sort of like, redneck individual who comes at it from this non-PC perspective. But once you put it in the context of Nazi propaganda or, a Nazi's website, it's just like, that doesn't work.
It doesn't shine up quite so well, no.
Yeah, but he has apologized. I'm not the one to accept those apologies. I think as hetero white men, like, we can be, on the side, we can be allies, but like at the end of the day, we're just on the sidelines. Like, there's no reason.
Yeah, it's not my fight.
There's no reason for me to be able to say Joe Bob's forgiven. But it did seem on Twitter that a lot of people were saying, thanks for saying all this and thanks for, actually having the conversation. So hopefully this all gets mended, but because I think Joe Bob Briggs is not only extremely intelligent, but has always tried to be open to everyone. And I don't think he was trying to be malicious, but I'm not going to ever be able to explain someone else's intentions. So,
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, it was a good hang. I mean, that movie is just ridiculous as fuck. There's a guy that got his arm blown off and then beat a guy to death with his own severed arm. That's awesome.
That is, yeah. There were some cool deaths and stuff, but yeah, at the end of the day, it really was just a whole bunch of like caricatures of different, at the time, I guess 80s outrageous characters.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a strange one. It's a strange one, and you guys be sure to hang out with us every Friday on the old Discord stream and chat. You guys can get info from that, or info about that, just by dropping us a message. That way you guys can join the fun, hang out, get a pull, and chit-chat with your fellow dead and lovely listeners.
It's a damn fun time.
It's a damn old fun time. Dude, I've had myself a fun time this week because I've been watching some comedies.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a dark time. There's a lot of bad news these days and stuff, so sometimes you just want to watch a funny.
That's true. I feel that way a lot.
So in order to start watching a funny, we decided to start going through the Schitt's Creek series.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the first episode of that and really wanted to keep watching it, but I've not gotten back to it.
So far, we're like 3 or 4 episodes in, and it's pretty funny. It's pretty dry. It's kind of
very dry, yeah.
The sort of humor that you're used to seeing, like Eugene Levy in. It stars Eugene Levy and his son.
Yeah.
As well as Catherine O'Hare.
Who's great.
Who's fucking fantastic, man. And we started watching that, and it's been fun, but honestly, like just seeing Catherine O'Hare and Eugene Levy together on screen, I was like, man, it's been so long since we watched A Mighty Wind.
Oh, okay.
So we went through and watched that again the other night. It had been a couple of years since I saw it. God damn it, that movie is so funny and just so accurate. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
God, dude, I love the Christopher Guest stuff. I know it's not really for everybody, and there's a lot of them that
it's not. It's very dry.
Yeah, and there's a lot of the movies that, like, I saw the first time, and I was like, I didn't really like that. And then the second time, you're like rolling in the floor laughing.
Right.
And so Mighty Wind is so good. It really might be my favorite of the Christopher Guest movies. And there's always like little stuff in there that I forget about. Like the new Main Street Singers, like the big like 9-piece group that's in there that does all the ridiculous harmonies and stuff. But then they're also like kind of a cult on the side. They're like witches in something, Nature's Colors. Witches in Nature's Colors. That's what it is. God, it's so ridiculous, man. So we started watching that, and I was like, this is putting me in the mood to go through and watch all the Christopher Guest movies.
Okay.
So last night we turned on the original. This is Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Check that one out again. Been a while since I saw that. Again, still absolutely hilarious. And there's little stuff in there that like you just don't notice. Where even though I've seen Spinal Tap a million times, Kate pointed it out just last night while we were watching it, that like during the opening credits where it's like introducing the band and it puts like their name and their title of the band or their title in the band on screen.
Mm-hmm.
It shows David St. Hubbins and it says lead guitar, and then it shows Nigel Tufnell and it says lead guitar. Just like little tiny stuff like that that's so stupid. And there's so much little shit in there too that they never even address. Like whenever they're at that big record party and they all have like cold sores on their face. But they never talk about it or explain it. Just little shit like that cracks me up, man.
There had to be some, because like, it's like so much improv and stuff. There had to be something there, but then the improv went a different way, and they were just like, we'll just cut. They'll just have those.
Yeah.
No big deal. Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, honestly, the fact that they never explain it makes it funnier because you're just assuming it's like they all got herpes from the same person, I guess.
Exactly. Right.
So it's actually funnier that they didn't explain it. Yeah, it's great, man. Honestly, and of course, you got to give it the credit that whenever This is Spinal Tap came out, I mean, there was nothing else even remotely like that had ever been made. I mean, a fake documentary like that. It's probably got the least amount of laughs in it of all of them, which I feel stupid for saying, considering it's like it's heavy metal. It's like totally geared for me. But like the last third of the movie does get kind of serious-ish.
Yeah, I think, obviously, if you're starting a new thing, which is fake documentary, you're going to go through some trial and error. And I think there was like that attempt to make it more like a documentary at the end where it doesn't have as much humor, whereas later Christopher Guest movies do have the humor throughout.
Totally. Also, just forgot how many like little tiny cameos and guest stars from other like extremely well-known people there are in that. I mean, obviously, like Paul Shearer, not Paul Shearer. Fuck,
I was thinking he would have been.
No, what's his name? Damn it, David Letterman's band leader, Paul.
Oh, Paul. Fuck.
Right?
Pauly Shore? No. Paul.
We have to get Fuzzbeat on this.
Hell. I'm Fuzzbeating it right now.
Yeah, people are totally like beating on their steering wheel right now, just cussing us a blue streak.
Well, just because Fuzzbeat won't leave me alone, it's Paul Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer. No wonder I thought it was Paul Shearer. God damn it.
Paul
Jesus.
Shearer, Paul Shore, Paul Schaefer. There's all sorts of shiz.
One of those Pauls out there, man.
Just a Paul, yeah.
I blew it. I totally blew it. Fuck. Well, but you know, it's like he's in there as well as like Angelica Houston is in it.
Is she?
Yeah, which I never realized. No, not at all. Kate caught it during the credits, and we were like, where the fuck was she in this? She is the person that designs the Stonehenge prop and delivers it to him. That is like a very young Angelica Houston.
That's crazy.
I know. Go back and look at it, and you're like, that's absolutely her. The voice, everything. But yeah, she's in there. Yeah, it's just covered in little cameos and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching some more of those and stuff too. I look forward to getting to Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah.
Because that one is so hilarious. It's been so long since I watched it, man.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of those in a while either.
What's your favorite of them?
I don't know if I could. I mean, Best in Show is really great.
Ah, it's so good, dude.
The music ones, I think a lot of the jokes go over my head because they're music jokes.
That's the thing about a lot of them is the fact that like, yeah, there are definitely a lot of like deep cut music jokes and stuff in there that you would only catch if you probably play music.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I think that it's so fucking funny. The fact that they put that stuff in there knowing that a lot of people aren't going to get it, it makes it more real and more funny to me.
Yeah, that does help the documentary feel as well, because I've watched, music documentaries and been like, oh, I don't know what they're talking about right now. And like, that's it. You just move on because it's like, well, I don't know music. They're talking about it, whatever.
Yeah, right. Well, and of course, this also comes, right here at the passing, of course, of Fred Willard, who's in a lot of these movies.
Yeah.
R.I.P., man. Hey, what happened?
Mm-hmm. He was old.
He was really old. Yeah, I read he was like 80, 81, something like that.
Yeah, 81. Yeah, he's just old.
He died of being old.
Yeah, it's not surprising to die when you're 80.
Yeah, good on him. But good long run, a really fucking funny guy.
Good long run.
And I don't know about you, like, I bet it's not just me that whenever I heard the news, the first thing I said was, hey, what happened? It couldn't have just been me.
No, it couldn't.
I can't do my work. Dude, his character in A Mighty Wind is just so fucking stupid. I love it.
My favorite thing about Fred Willard is that he got caught jerking off in a theater, and essentially all that happened was everybody in his life told him about internet porn. It was just like, that was it. Like, nobody thought anything of it. They were just like, oh, the old dude doesn't know about internet porn yet.
Yeah, you can stay home and do that. Here's this website.
Yeah. Here, there you go, Fred. Like, it didn't hurt his career or anything because it wasn't weird. It's just like, that's what they're for, but it's an old thing. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah. What a different world we live in, too, where it's like, that happened, I'd totally forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's
just a blip
big
in the
deal.
radar. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a huge deal when Pee-wee did it, but just 10 years, 20 years later, it's like, well, who gives a shit?
Well, Steve, I'd like to pour one out to our fallen laughing man, public jerk off for Fred Willard here and get ourselves a poll.
Yes.
We're having one here that was delivered to us by our very own Roger Dean Miller, the notorious
The Man.
RDM, the man he is known as.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one from, what is this, the Atlanta Brewing Company?
That's what it says. Sweetheart Deal.
What kind of beer is this, Steve? What's going on in this thing?
Well, it's a stout that is brewed with lactose, dulce de leche, cacao,
good God,
and vanilla bean.
Holy shit! This sounds like
that is so
liquid
much.
Milkshake.
Yeah, and let me just tell you, pouring this shit is dork.
It is dork, and also, I mean, the glass is a solid foot away from my face, and I can already smell.
Yeah.
Everything you just described. You kind of got that
it's so
burnt sugary dulce de leche smell.
Mm-hmm. It's
also
it's
cocoa.
almost like a cold coffee. Like if you got like a dulce de leche coffee and let it cool down.
Yeah, or like a nitro cold brew or something.
There you go. Yeah.
It's like a 7.2 ABV. I have a feeling this is gonna be one to just put you under the couch.
Yeah. Cool can too. By
Yeah,
the way.
the design is really, really neat on there. Look forward to trying this guy out. Let's see what it do.
Ooh, buddy, that is chocolatey AF, my friend.
Oh man, whoa, that is chocolatey.
Yeah, that's good.
But also, you can really taste the vanilla extract, and it really tastes like real vanilla. Like this tastes like Mexican vanilla, you know?
Yeah, it's got like that mellow sort of vanilla taste, but it's like that dulce de leche is there.
Oh
that
yeah,
little bit of caramel like flavor to it. Mm.
It's a really weird thing to say, and I don't think I've ever said this before. I'd love to have a nice espresso to go with this beer. Is that crazy?
No, it's like a dessert, and it would be good. It would like, I don't know, it would be like eating a piece of cake with espresso, like, or dipping a cookie in an espresso. Like it really would have that like nice bittering balance to the sweetness. Yeah,
I think that'd be okay.
Hell yeah, this is good though.
Well, thanks so much, Roger. That's a delicious one. Yeah, dude, Roger knows how to choose them, man.
Yeah,
he knows what's up. Well, Steve, the subject of our show today is, of course, what lies beneath which stars one Harrison Fjord.
That's him.
An international man of adventure. We've been on so many adventures with Harrison through his film career. We've adventured with him swinging on vines as Indiana J.
Yeah.
We've shot up some replicants with him as Old Deckard.
Mm-hmm. We've smuggled some goods.
That's right. Yeah, with Hans Solo.
Hans Olo.
I love when people call him Hans. I'm just like, bless you. Mm-hmm. Bless your fucking heart. And he's a guy that I just really want to go on some adventures with. And apparently it'd be very easy to, as he is down in Morristown, Tennessee all the time.
That is true. Callista Flockhart's parents live in Morristown, right?
Yeah, that's right. So they're down there seeing him like all the time. So apparently it wouldn't be too hard for us. But you know, I just really wonder if I was going on an adventure, which Harrison Ford character should I take with me?
Ooh.
Do you think there's a place that we could find out about that while we step into the Preview Palace?
Welcome to the Preview Palace.
It was like a rugged adventurer intro?
Yeah. I wanted you to feel like you're going on an adventure.
So I'll tell you what, before we get to the review ski, let's step in here and ask those old witches and wizards at BuzzFeed, which Harrison Ford character should we take on an adventure? This is a quiz by Crystal Rowe, who is absolutely... She's got a crystal ball. She's got crystal visions.
If her name is Crystal, that she probably can see the future.
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Or she's a horse girl, in my experience.
It could be that.
She's either a horse girl or she can see the future.
Do you think that maybe she ever, like, uses as a pickup line? She's like, have you ever heard about the healing power of crystal? The sexual healing power of crystal? Maybe like that.
And then she pulls out some meth.
Yeah. It's just, that crystal.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she's like, I meant it as a double entendre.
I do drugs.
Plus, you can have sex with me.
Oh,
right, yeah.
All right, Steve, let me ask you, which of these quote-unquote crazy things would you do? Would you jump from a plane, float in zero gravity, raft down the Amazon, or eat a scorpion?
Well, 3 of those I would be interested in. Not really interested in eating a scorpion.
No, I mean he's a ninja. He throws spears. He's very demanding. Get over here. All that stuff.
Yeah, I mean he's all bone. Really nothing to chew on there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So which one are you gonna do?
I mean, jump from a plane and raft down the Amazon are things that are possible. But floating in 0G, they can only kind of simulate that with those like plane rides where they go straight up and then straight down. I'd like to actually do it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think that's a good choice. That's probably the one that I would go for as well. But given the remainder here, I think I'm going to jump myself from an aeroplane and find out about that.
That would be awesome. So fun.
What do we got next?
The next is a visual one. It says pick a grin. So we're just going to pick a grin.
Ooh.
I picked the first one.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'm going to go with the third one. It's a little more subtle.
Yeah. All right.
All right, next, Steve, I need you to choose a getaway vehicle for your adventure. Are we going with a helicopter? Are we getting away on that motorcycle? Maybe a big old Jeep stomping through the mud. Or maybe it's
stomp.
Air Force One, a big old aeroplane. Get off my plane.
Give me back my son. I didn't kill my wife. I feel like I'm going to take that Jeep.
Yeah?
I'd like to drive my way out of trouble.
That's probably a good idea right there. And I think that's also a smart choice too, considering that like I don't know how to operate any of these other ones.
That would be a problem, right?
Be a little bit of an issue. It's like, get away.
Let's just assume you got a driver.
Okay, all right. If that's the case, then I think I'll go with just a good old-fashioned aeroplane. I enjoy myself an aeroplane ride.
Get the hell out of there.
Yeah, man. Next.
What word best describes traveling?
Ooh.
Exhausting.
I'm so tired.
Exciting.
Oh, boy.
Scary.
Dios mío.
Difficult.
Muy difícil.
That's what I was hoping for. That's what I was hoping for.
You got it.
So what do you say?
You set them up, I spike them, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to say that traveling is exciting. I enjoy a travel. I like going to see a new place. I like finding out what they got to eat over there, what it smell like, what it do. It's exciting.
Yeah. I do love traveling, but I'm just going to assume we're talking about the travel portion. And for me, that is always difficult because I don't know why. Every single time I'm heading to the airport or heading on the road somewhere, I get in a bad mood. I don't know why.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Get the old travel crankies.
Yeah. Just immediately. And as soon as, you know, the traveling part is over, it's like, all right, let's relax.
I'll tell you the
whole
key
travel,
to that,
it's
man.
like, let's fucking hate life.
If you work hard enough, especially while you're going through an airport flight scenario, there are so many ways to get ripped up drunk that make the travel so much better.
I bet.
They give you lots of opportunities.
The driving part, that's where it's just shit.
Yeah, you need to be clean to do that. So, yeah. All right, next up here, Steve, we got a question. Which of these would you use to carry something important? We've got like a nice leather satchel briefcase, very professorial. We've got an ancient wooden box. There's like a big military-grade flight case kind of thing. And then we have just kind of your classic steel briefcase that you might find handcuffed to someone that's carrying something of high value.
To actually carry something important, I'm going to go with that leather briefcase because it's one of only two that have a handle.
That's true. Yeah.
And if I'm carrying it, I don't want to be walking around with some cumbersome ass metal box.
Well, it also just kind of advertises like I'm holding something important and valuable.
Yeah, people are like, oh, that guy's up to something.
Right. Yeah, I was actually going to go for that little leather satchel myself. I have a really nice one that Kate got for me for Christmas a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah?
That I really enjoy. It's also my second one because kind of contrary to what we were just saying, I had one that was like a nice pigskin one years ago in college that got stolen.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna keep my articles with me safe and secure with that steel briefcase around my wrist.
Ben, where would you tell a quote contact unquote to meet you?
Oh, a contact, huh?
A quiet restaurant, a swank hotel.
Ooh.
I guess that's a hotel owned by Hillary Swank.
Yeah. Hillary Swank Estates.
A crowded bar, an exotic bazaar.
Wow, those all sound like pretty great places to go and do a meetup there with a contact. I think I'm gonna hide in plain sight at a quiet restaurant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Get me a bite just while I'm at it.
Sitting there sipping on something, maybe nibbling on a scone or something.
Yeah, something really classy like that.
Well, Ben, I have a whole lot of energy right now, and I'll tell you what, most every time I've seen a contact met in an exotic bazaar, it's ended in an awesome chase.
That's
true.
So
I'm going to go with exotic bazaar.
That does tend to happen. Do you think that whenever people are like reserving their stalls and setting up their wares at their exotic bazaars, they're like, There's gonna be another fucking chase today. Why even bother putting up this fruit stand? I just know somebody's gonna plow through it with a Jeep.
I think the second they see a white person, that's what happens.
Yeah,
because that's always the initiation.
Here.
Yeah, it's either Jason Bourne or James Bond or any number of other white dudes showing up. It's like, oh yeah, well, there's gonna be a chase today.
Yeah, keep this guy away from a motorcycle. I think there should be a movie about one of those guys that sets up his little fruit stand and it's like he's having to do it to pay his bills. His landlord's on his ass and stuff. He's got to take care of his family. And then an action star plows through it. All of his money is lost. His life is in tatters. I want to see that movie.
It does sound, I mean, the way you just described it, super exciting. Ben, what creature is the worst?
Oh my.
Snakes, spiders, rats. For sale. Cockroaches.
Definitely a spoiler. I hate me a spoiler so bad. It's an irrational fear of mine. I hate those little buggers. I'm not really fond of a lot of these other things, but I can deal with them. But a spoiler, you better step on back, spoiler.
Get out of here. I'll go with cockroaches here.
Ew.
I used to not be a huge fan of snakes or rats, but they don't bother me anymore. Spiders, not a big deal, but cockroaches, like, their presence tends to indicate something's up, right?
Typically.
Yeah, you see a bunch of cockroaches, it's like, well, this isn't good.
Oh, a good sign. There's roaches.
Yeah. So
all right, Steve, we got our results in here, and I've gotten myself... Apparently, I'm going on an adventure with one Hans Olo.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Hans would take you on adventures through a galaxy far, far away on a ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsnips. Escaping from Sarlacc Spits, I said, bounty hunters, and vile gangsters would all be in a day's work for you and Hans, old buddy. I agree. That sounds like a pretty good time to me, man.
And just for fun, you could just pretend that you speak Wookiee.
Yeah.
Because he does, right?
Uh-huh, he does.
He does seem to pretend that he speaks Wookiee. But then most of the time he's right. So maybe he does speak Wookiee.
Maybe he's got a little bit.
Yeah. I got Rick Deckard.
Oh, sweet, man.
Your future is safe with Deckard, unless, of course, you dream of electric sheep.
Oh,
there's plenty of room for you to ride shotgun in Deckard's police spinner. Whether you're enjoying a hot pot of noodles together, all right, or chasing down replicants in the rain, I also like that. Your adventures would last long into the future.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, you're having yourself a good old time right there, man. God
damn
it, Blade Runner is such a fucking cool movie.
Yeah. Plus noodle. I mean, awesome.
Come on, man. You can't lose with that. Yeah, I would love to watch that again. It's been too long since I've seen that. That soundtrack, man. That fucking Vangelis soundtrack. All that synth.
It's so good, man.
So good. And the sequel's awesome, too.
I still have not watched the damn sequel.
No way.
I really need to. It was on HBO forever, and I kept being like, I should watch that. I should watch that. Never just sat down and watched.
Well, before you do, let me ask you, how pretty do you like movies to be?
Well, I mean, if it's on a scale of 0 to pretty, I'll go with pretty.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to love the movie then.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Yeah. If you'd have answered, I don't like them pretty, I don't like nice things, then I'd been like, this isn't the movie for you, but I think that you're going to enjoy it.
You know what I prefer? I like every movie to look like Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it raw. That's what I want.
Keep it gritty. Keep it real. And you guys can keep on supporting us by visiting our Patreon page.
Oh, patreon.com/Dead and Lovely.
That's
oh my
right.
gosh, Ben. I forgot in the earlier bit before we get to the review. I'm sure people are listening now, like, "Hey, Steve, your episode was supposed to be up on Monday of
your
new
episode
podcast.
of what? Of your new show? What's going on?
Legacy of Brutality." If you look right now, you'll see that Legacy of Brutality is up on iTunes. The new episode is not. That is because it didn't get up on Monday. It didn't actually get up until sometime today, Tuesday, when we're recording. And so, because I just want to explain why it's important to get it out on a specific day and not to just have a varied, like, like putting it out on several different platforms at different times. Basically, most listens come through iTunes, and iTunes expects your episode to do well on the first day. If I had already uploaded the episode to another service and people had listened on other services, by the time it gets to iTunes, it wouldn't do as well, and that would kind of affect how I would come up in search in the future. So really wanted to put off putting up that first episode until I could make sure everybody would be able to listen to it at the same time. So it will come out on Friday, definitely, because the episode is done and iTunes has accepted the feed. So I'm moving the show to Fridays. It was a choice between Monday or Friday in the first place, and I arbitrarily chose Monday. Friday works just fine too. So show will come out on Fridays starting this Friday. Sorry for all of the problems. I wish they hadn't happened as well. I felt sick all day yesterday, just full of absolute panic and anxiety. Like, are they ever going to accept this feed?
They know it's too powerful, man. They know it's too powerful. You're out there, you're going to expose the truth of the history of horror.
That's it. And they know that the truth is iTunes wasn't involved. Whoa.
They're wanting to bury the truth, Steve. All right, so yeah, you guys be sure to check out that new episode of Legacy of Brutality on Friday.
Legacy of Brutality.
Oh, Island of Misfit Toys.
Oh.
I always have to say that specifically when I'm doing that voice. I don't know why.
Just so people know where it's coming from.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. In case they're like, is that Ben's voice?
Yeah, is he going through a second puberty? Well, Steve, the subject of our show today is What Lies Beneath from the year 2000.
Whoa, the future.
Had you ever seen this movie before?
I had not. I had not seen this movie, and it was one that I've heard about a million times, but honestly, I was never compelled to watch it.
Right, yeah.
Nothing I had heard about it made me interested in. Basically, it was just people saying, oh, you like horror movies? Have you ever seen What Lies Beneath? I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody ever gave me a clue as to what was going on in it. If they had, I might have watched it a little bit earlier, because I tend to like movies similar to this.
Yeah.
But I do not like this.
It's not really what I remembered. I hadn't seen this movie in a really long time. I think that right after it came out on video, so probably 2001-ish, I had gone over to a friend's house. This is back when you could go over to friends' houses.
Yeah, back remember those days? Yeah.
My brother and I went over to see some friends, and we got there, and they had just started watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh.
And this is way before I was into horror movies, so I was like, oh my God, they're watching filth. But I was intrigued and did kind of watch it out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, this looks really fucked up and cool, But after TCM was over, which I definitely got in trouble for, by the way, when I got home, there was definitely the question of, well, what were you boys watching? Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I'm sorry,
right.
Mom.
Because you couldn't lie, or you would have gone straight to hell.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how that works. We know.
Yep.
So I did get in trouble for that. But after that was over, we decided to make it a double feature and watch What Lies Beneath.
Okay.
And so I watched the movie then, and I remember really liking it. I might have just liked hanging out with my friends. Maybe that's what I was remembering.
Maybe.
And I want to say that I watched it again maybe a year or two later, but I really didn't remember anything about it. So we started the movie the other night, and it was probably about 40 minutes into the movie. And I was like, I have no idea what this is about. I don't remember anything about this. I remembered it as being some kind of supernatural thing. I thought that it was about the neighbors and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how you could remember it.
No.
There are 5 plots in this movie,
That's
and not
the thing.
one of them is interesting.
That's kind of the thing with it, right? It's after the movie was over, I was like, yeah, no wonder I don't really remember any distinct singular plot, because there's not really one here.
Nope.
And,
not.
It's kind of in that same vein of a lot of those kind of supernatural thriller type movies that were around, especially, during this time period where it's it's not necessarily horror per se, but it is scary and suspenseful and thrilling, and there are supernatural elements, so it's kind of like it's horror.
It has to be labeled horror because of the supernatural elements, but it really is more of a thriller than horror, and thriller in the full sense, where it's like, this is not horror at all. Like, without the ghost, this would never have been called a horror movie by anyone.
Right, yeah. And it's kind of a stretch to call it a thriller, considering it's not all that thrilling. Yeah.
Yeah. It plays out like a cheap thriller novel from the 90s. Like, I read a ton of thriller novels from the 90s. Dean Koontz type of stuff. Maybe you heard of him. This plays out like one of those novels where it's just like, each one of them is basically just paint by number. Like, you could guess what's going to happen long before it happens. But in this case, you couldn't guess what's going to happen, not because of masterful writing, but because no one could guess that you're going to have a completely different story in 10 minutes. And then another completely different story 20 minutes later. Like, no one could guess that.
Right.
But that's what we were obsessed with in the 90s. Like, we were so obsessed with movies being, you can't figure out the ending. The Usual Suspect, Sixth Sense, all that type of stuff. Like, you couldn't possibly figure out the ending, and then when you see it, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, how didn't I know?"
It's all kind of going back to the thrill of the Scooby-Doo, Who's Under the Mask thing. Which,
exactly.
Of course, is also exploited in like late 90s horror, like urban legend and stuff like that too. Do you think that like The Sixth Sense is kind of the movie that jump-started all this, or was that after this?
I think maybe. I mean, because The Sixth Sense comes out in 96.
Whoa, that came out in 96?
I believe so.
Whoa.
I'm not positive on that. It may have been later.
We get Fuzzbeat on that. Have him look it up. See what he says.
When did The Sixth Sense come out? It came out in 99, sir.
Oh, 99, huh?
I was off by 3 years.
So it was before this movie, though.
Yeah,
it was
before this.
Very much this, like, suspenseful, Hitchcocky. You can't guess the ending. Also, there is a supernatural twist in it, too.
Yeah. Stir of Echoes, same thing. So Stir of Echoes is the better version of this movie. And Stir of Echoes isn't, like, amazing. It's a better version of this, though, because it has one consistent story. It is about one single crime, and the supernatural elements actually help solve that crime.
Well, that's the thing about a lot of those movies, though, like you know, Sixth Sense and stuff like that, is after you know what's going on, you can rewatch the movie again and see that there were clues all along. And it's like, oh man, that's really what was going on in this. This movie? Not really.
No, you cannot. You cannot go back and see the development of this story. Like, you go back and you watch it again and it's like, oh, it's just about faking you out. It's just about you not possibly being able to guess.
Yeah, and keeping the heroine clueless as to what's going on.
Right. But, yeah, I mean, that's all excusable, I think, if this was a movie that was made for like a couple $1 million by some upstarts.
Oh, it was. It was a couple million.
Yeah, a couple million times 50.
$100 million. They spent $100 million on this movie.
Yeah. And if it was like a director who maybe never done anything big, it would make sense. But of course, this is the director of Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump.
Good Lord.
I mean, this, like, we're talking big names. Harrison Ford, Michelle Pfeiffer, big name director. Steven Spielberg himself handed the script to Robert Zemeckis.
Damn.
And I don't. I mean, they all had to have taken a whole lot. Like, that's where the budget went. They all took a whole lot of money to make a piece of crap and try to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't a good story from the beginning. Like, they had nothing to work off of, really. Like, the script obviously doesn't work. They shouldn't have had people come on set to shoot it until they figured it the fuck out.
That's the thing, right? And it just kind of goes to show you, too, that just throwing enough money and big names at something doesn't necessarily make it good. It'll help it make money because people want to go see the new Harrison Ford movie and Michelle Pfeiffer movie and stuff like that. But it's like you said, the year before, The Sixth Sense it did have Bruce Willis in it.
That's true, but that was the only big name at the time, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And a very, at that time, very unknown director. And it wasn't like a mega high budget, special effects heavy kind of flick, and it crushed because it's an awesome story.
Yes, because it's an awesome story told well with like low key acting. This is a movie that like it threatens to become a drama at any moment.
Yeah, totally, like a Lifetime movie at any moment. This could become a Lifetime movie.
Exactly. It's gonna just get melodramatic and stupid. And it almost does like over and over and over, and they barely pull themselves back from that edge over and over and over, where it's just like Lifetime movie. No.
Veer away from that one.
Really gonna turn that wheel.
Make her get possessed. There's a Ouija board.
Now maybe somebody tries to commit suicide. I don't know.
But the pull to become a melodramatic Lifetime movie is definitely there at all times.
Yeah, it's definitely there. This movie is inexplicable to me in many ways, and one of those is that the screenplay is by Agent Coulson.
Agent Coulson from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers and stuff.
Yeah, Clark Gregg wrote this.
Known for his immense writing body of work.
I'm assuming he must have had a packet or something, but he didn't have any writing credits before this. But he was commissioned by DreamWorks to do a rewrite of the original treatment, which I'll talk about in a second. But he since then has written two other things. One, he wrote and directed the adaptation of Choke.
Oh, that's not good. He did that?
Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, man. Choke as a book is fucking amazing. Yes. It is an incredible, also unfilmable. I mean, it's one of the nastiest books ever.
Like, why would you even set out to make the film in the first place?
Yeah, if you make that movie and it's not X-rated, then you've missed the entire point.
Yeah. So, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how an actor, not even like overly popular, but a TV actor.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, he's great. He is awesome. He's a great actor. He's really great as Coulson, etc. But I don't know how he suddenly is in the scope of DreamWorks, where they're like, hey, you want to do a rewrite on a script treatment
for $100 million movie with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, like two of the biggest movie stars ever.
It's not like a test.
Did he have a screenplay, or did he have an idea on a napkin with bullet points? Like woman has amnesia, possession, Ouija board, husband is killer. I don't know. Just something here. There's something.
That's the thing that definitely indicates that it's not well thought out. But the movie to me appears overly written without too much thought. Yeah. Like it feels like a novel most of the time. It feels like there are chapter breaks from time to time.
After you pointed that out, that's all that I'm thinking about now in the movie. Yeah. There are very distinct parts where it does feel like, and that's the end of that chapter. Now the next chapter starts with us getting introduced to this other person.
Yeah, and it's like it's gonna set up a whole like a series of novels or something.
Right.
But then it just has to have some stupid ending at the end. But I don't get how that all came about, considering that the original script treatment was by Sarah Kernichan, who's a filmmaker, and she was adapting a personal experience she had with the paranormal into a script. And the script was about a retirement age couple dealing with restless but compassionate spirits.
Oh, so like in the house or something.
Yeah. So essentially the idea would be like all this retirement couple is facing the fact that all they have left ahead of them is death. And so they're interacting with these spirits.
That sounds kind of compelling. That sounds like something you could probably get into. Where did this come from?
I don't know. They were like, okay, so old people and ghosts, go.
Yeah, that's what you got out of that. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how all this came together. Don't know why DreamWorks was so interested this early in their like creation. Like they were. Spielberg created DreamWorks in 94. This is 4 years later. They're making this movie in 98. I don't know how all of that comes together. I don't even, because Zemeckis was at the time shooting Castaway.
Good lord. Yeah, so it's not like he was like an out of work guy that had blown his career and now they're handing him whatever's at the bottom of the barrel. Like, he was still huge.
Yeah, he's still huge. He's at the time shooting Castaway. There's a hiatus for Tom Hanks to lose weight and to grow a beard for the island shots. They'd done all the other stuff with him at regular weight. So he just has this short hiatus, and it's like Spielberg's like, "Hey, you want to direct a movie?" And he's like, "I guess, what is it?"
What a life.
Yeah, yeah. That really is the life. Honestly, I imagine if you're just that entrenched in Hollywood, and people are just like, "Hey, you want to direct $100 million movie?"
Hey, Bob Zemeckis, you got a minute?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't know how why this all came together the way it did. Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford were their first, like, the ones they wanted for the role.
They wrote it with like them in mind.
Well, I don't know if it was written with them in mind. It was cast with them in mind.
Okay.
But they definitely just went to Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer and dumped a bunch of money in their lap, like, because neither one of the roles they even considered anybody else.
But it's one of those deals where, honestly, anybody else could have played those parts. Like,
anybody. They're so generic.
Yeah, you didn't have to go out and get that Wagyu beef to grind it up and make a smash burger on the grill top.
Yeah. I bet it's an okay burger, but I bet any level of beef would have been an okay burger. It'd have been
fine, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer is, I mean, she's great in it, because
she's amazing. She's one of the most gorgeous people ever made. Michelle Pfeiffer, wonderful. Dude, like, she's one of those people that I bet if you met her in person, you would be like, you're not even the same species as me. Like, you're way prettier than any human. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and she's great in this. So, like, I understand her in this. I don't understand Harrison Ford. I do understand from his perspective, because he likes smoking weed, and they probably paid him a lot of money. And, like, I can tell you for sure, every one of these scenes, he's probably stoned. Why wouldn't he be?
Yeah. And honestly, like, you can sum up their two characters really fast. If you do, like, just quick impressions of both of them through this whole movie, here's Michelle Pfeiffer. "M scares." And then Harrison Ford says, "Grumble, grumble, 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 grumble."
Parsecs.
Yeah, like, that's kind of their characters in this movie. Yeah, that's it.
I really do wish at some point he had said to the ghost, "Get out of my house."
That would have been okay, man.
Yeah, but no, we for some reason find out in the last 15 minutes that he's the villain.
Yeah, because somebody has to be.
Somebody has to be, and it can't be any of the people we set up to this point, because if it were somebody we'd seen up to this point, you could guess it. And the only important reason to make a movie is for people to be guessing, right?
I suppose. But it's one of those deals where, it's like we talked about with some of these other movies that have, like, really stupid reveals at the end, like Urban Legend and stuff like that, where it's like, it's not even one of those things that you could have put in the pieces together, Yeah, there's no way you could have figured that out.
Yeah. I mean, there was one piece to put together, and that was that her friend told him that her friend told her, Claire, that her friend Jody saw Norman at a coffee shop in the city that they keep saying Adamant. It's Adamant. That's how you say that word.
Yeah.
Adam Ant is the guy who's saying goody two shoes.
Right. Slight difference.
That's a different person. Anyway, so when Jody says that she saw him at that coffee shop with her, that and then later he says he has never been to this city or whatever. That was a moment where I was like, oh, maybe something's up. But the thing I thought was up was Jody was lying.
Right, yeah.
Because he never plays it as suspicious at all.
No.
Like, there's never a point where you are suspect... Ugh. Never a point where you fucking shit.
Third time's a charm. Take another swing at it.
There's never a time where Harrison Ford is sus. How about that?
He's never sus at all. Never sus nothing out.
Yeah, but he's never the suspect. Like, it just happens that it's revealed that he is, and then suddenly he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But
And it's such a lame development too, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's like he was this successful like genetics neuroscience professor guy who fooled around with the student. The student was going to tell the dean and ruin his career, so he murdered her. Because I guess you can just flip a switch and do that.
Right.
And then also that means that he's instantly a sociopath that has no conscience and is about to then murder his wife, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Right.
Because I guess he's a crazy.
I guess.
Why? Like, there's no signs that he's some kind of sociopathic killer at all.
It's like this movie is a maze, but you can't get to the center. Like, there's no actual way. So it just takes every route, and it's like, huh. And once it fills out all the routes, it's like just an X in the middle, I guess. Like, that did it. That's the thing. Like,
yeah.
The way that this movie is so heavy in story and exposition and stuff.
And red herrings, dude. My God.
Yeah. And then also entirely bereft of any, like, real story. Like, they slowly reveal to us through so many different things. Like, her sitting there looking through the, her little, like, photo book.
Yeah, her Stephen King photo album.
Yeah, through that, we're supposed to learn that she is a former musician who had a kid.
Oh, yeah, she was a
musician.
Not
with Harrison Ford, and then had to leave behind her career as a musician to take care of her kid, and then Harrison Ford came along and, like, married them, but she never went back to being a musician. Again, all that's supposed to be conveyed by looking at a photo book.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's some really easy exposition. You know what? Now that you put it that way, though, because I had totally even forgotten about the fact that she was this retired cellist and shit like this.
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of wondering if Agent Coulson that wrote this movie, did he write it, or, and you're a person that has nieces and nephews and all that kind of jazz, so you'll know exactly what I mean.
Right.
Was it possible that this story was dictated by like a 4-year-old with an imaginative story? Because like, doesn't it sound like
she has a little girl and she plays a cello, but the little girl's dad left, but there's another man.
And then she wakes up in the bathtub and she used to play, but now she doesn't. And she saw the neighbor and they were fighting and he thought the man was going to kill her. And she saw it, but then it turned out she didn't see it. And then there was a ghost and she got possessed. And then there was a witch book, and like, this sounds like a story a 5-year-old dictated to you.
By the way, if you take Michelle Pfeiffer and replace her with a 5-year-old, this mov's better.
Other than the fact that Harrison Ford would be fucking a 5-year-old.
Well, no, just make it the daughter. let's say Claire died, and now Norman's having to take care of the daughter, but the Norman actually killed Claire, and the daughter's slowly discovering
that's a better movie.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
That's already a better movie.
Yeah.
100% a better movie, and 2 explains why she's constantly shocked by things, because she's a young girl, right?
Well, let's talk about that daughter,
grown-ass woman.
Because like that whole
talk
daughter
about why
thing,
that daughter exists,
dude. To add 15 minutes to the first of the movie where they have to move her out to college and mom is all sad about it. Like, I understand that it's there to show you that like they were a good family that got along together and stuff, and the mom is going through a lot of changes in this time of her life and stuff. I get it, but dude, that seriously is like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and the daughter never fucking comes back. Like, they made such a point to show that, you know, whenever they dropped her off at the dorm, Michelle Pfeiffer is like, feel free to come back anytime. And I was thinking, like, there at the end, while
she would come back.
That she'd come back, yeah, while Michelle Pfeiffer's, like, paralyzed in the bathtub and about to die, which actually was very good and suspenseful.
Oh, yeah, that was a well-done bit. I mean, again, like, any of the scenes... Yeah, any of the scenes where Michelle Pfeiffer's having to act, and that was what she was doing in that scene, she fucking nails it.
Yeah. So it's like, I was expecting, and now the daughter's gonna finally come home, and the truth is gonna be out, and she's gonna help get dad arrested or whatever. Yeah. No, she just goes to college, and she's like, sir, not appearing in this film from that point on.
Yeah. So why have her appear at all? Why not just say, oh, I've been so depressed since so-and-so left.
Yeah.
And you set it up. you've set up the entirety of that without 15 minutes of a movie.
You could set the whole thing up with her getting a phone call from her daughter. It's been a whole week since we dropped you off at college.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Instead, it's like, that is a solid 10 or 15 minutes of the movie spent developing that. I mean, dude, like I said, 40 minutes into this movie, I was like, I still don't know what the story of this is. Like, what's happening?
Because it tells that story, and then nothing happens. Then it starts telling the story of the next door neighbor lady who apparently gets killed by her husband. But then, no.
Okay,
the end
shit.
of that story.
Dude, and it's just so, like, very obviously Rear Window, Hitchcocky.
Yep. That is exactly what it is. Yeah.
On the nose. And yeah, it's like she's snooping on the neighbors because she hears them fighting and stuff. She talks to the neighbor lady, Eowyn, through a hole in the fence. Which, by the way,
I was happy to see Eowyn. That was fun.
Dude, I totally didn't recognize her at first. Like, she got on screen and I was like, Kate, who is that? And she's like, you don't know who that is? And I was like, no, give me a second. I was like, give me a hint. I can't think of who it is. And she goes, she is no man. And I'm like, oh, goddamn.
That's also exactly what I said when I saw her the first time on screen. I was like, she is no man.
She is no man, dude. Absolutely so. Goddamn, she's awesome, man.
She is awesome. That story is so extremely frustrating to have James Remar and Miranda Otto, two people who at the time were in a bunch of stuff around this time, to have them in as a red herring that's not only like only tangentially related to some crazy idea she has.
Yeah.
But then ends in nothing.
Nothing.
Ends in a joke at a party.
Yeah, where he like fakes strangling her. But then there's just so much bullshit about that too, where it's like, okay,
yeah.
So what was that big body bag that Michelle Pfeiffer saw him put in the trunk? What the fuck was that? Why was there a bloody shoe? Why did it look like
there was a struggle in the house? Yeah, there was a bloody shoe. Yeah.
What the fuck is all that stuff then? And why, like, whenever she went over there to drop off that gift basket and just the husband was home, he was shady as fuck to her.
Yes, he was. It was obvious they were trying to set up that he had killed her. It was obvious they had set up a different movie and then they're like, haha, faked you out. That's terrible writing.
Is I feel like all that stuff was in there, and the fact that, you know, she saw him put this body bag in the trunk and then Harrison Ford was there and he didn't see it. It's almost like they're trying to set up, like, is she going crazy or is she not?
Yeah. That's a whole other possible story they're setting up, along with her visits to the doctor, but Joe Morton.
It's only set up and just like barely even put in first gear. Like, it's not.
Yep.
It's not all that big of a thing. Where it's like, if it turned out that Harrison Ford was like gaslighting her into thinking that she was crazy, or like he was setting up things to make her doubt her own sanity, that way she just believe everything he said.
That would have been way more interesting.
But they never go anywhere with that at all. It's just some weird stuff happened. That's enough of that.
And truly the only explanation for her behavior throughout the movie is that she is suffering from some mental illness.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie tells us that's not the case.
Yep.
So why is she so wildly erratic emotionally?
I have no idea.
It's just a poorly written woman. That's it. It is a man being like, that's how women are. A woman thinks you've murdered, your neighbor's murdered his wife, and so goes into a place where she could entirely destroy her husband's career and yells in front of hundreds of people that this man has murdered his wife. It's just a poorly written female character.
Yeah.
It's not, because at the very, at some point, either it needed to be revealed that, yes, her husband is making her feel crazy.
Yeah.
Or that she is suffering from some mental illness.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you cannot just set up that someone is acting mentally ill for no reason, and guess what? It's not even resolved.
Yeah.
That's just the thing. That, oh, by the way, this person's mentally ill now.
Well, they even spend the time to introduce the character of this, like, psychologist that she goes to and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, like, there's potential there for, you know, like, let's say she had started to think that she was crazy because of stuff Harrison Ford had set up. And then he sends her to the psychiatrist, but then just tells the psychiatrist or psychologist to just, dose out placebos and stuff. And it turns out
Right.
she's not crazy at all. Like, there's all kinds of potential for stuff, but instead we just get a longer movie. Like, we get several different psychotherapy sessions with her sitting here with this guy eating atomic fireballs. What kind of fucking psychiatrist?
That made no sense.
What the fuck, dude? Like, you're just gonna put people on edge.
That has to have a reason. There has to be a reason for that.
Yeah.
Either you just wanted a bright red in the scene, so you just don't mention that they're atomic fireballs, or you mention they're atomic fireballs for that to come back.
Yeah.
But it's just there. It's just a thing. It's just like most of this movie. It's just there. It's like, here's a thing to rest your eyes on for a little bit.
Yeah,
because it's 2000, and what are your other options?
What else are you doing anyway, right?
I mean, that is really the feel of this movie. For this movie to have made $300 million almost,
man,
it really does remind you that at a certain point in America, history just feels like it was waiting on something. Like the 90s and 2000s feel like history was just waiting for something to happen.
Well, and I think what it was waiting on was the internet, because, like,
yes,
at that time, it's just like, I guess you just go to the movies to have something to do. It's like nowadays you go to the movies because there's a movie you want to see specifically.
Yeah. And now with the internet, because we have everything basically at our fingertips, it's like, it feels like we're more proactive in our entertainment now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you don't have to just watch this movie because you like Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer and it's out. Like, you don't just have to go give people money, because nobody now would put $100 million into this movie.
No way.
Because there's no way it would make $300 million.
I was going to say, yeah, there's no way that if this movie was released in a, well, you know, obviously not right now because theaters aren't open, but if it was released in a normal time period during this era, there's no way it would make $300 million. There's no fucking way, man.
Absolutely not. So, I'm just, but I also tried to put myself in the headspace of 2000 when I watched it, like the second or third time. And I was able to see, like, how it was definitely evolving from these other movies we were talking about, and definitely see how, like, one, it looks good. I mean, it's well shot. And
it definitely looks like it was filmed in the late 90s. Like, everything is beige and tan.
God,
dude.
It's so late 90s.
That whole, like, that sort of era of interior decor where everything looked like the inside of Pier 1.
It's real bad. Yeah.
And just like I said, everything's tan. The walls are like khaki colored and people are wearing khaki. It's just disgusting, man.
It is really gross. When she's sitting at the computer, when I saw that computer and then it cuts to her just playing solitaire on it, I was just like, one, we get it. It's the 90s. Like, we get it. But in 2000, you're not even showing off. Why do you have this computer with her playing solitaire? At least have her doing something kind of interesting on a computer.
Well, I'll tell you why, because later on, whenever she's snooping around the neighbor's house, after she thinks the wife has been killed, and she looks in the window and she sees a table with a game of solitaire being set up on it, it makes you think something is connected. But it's not.
Call back to another thing. That's the same as story connection, right?
That's the same. Yeah, that means the same thing, dude.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I didn't even connect those two. I did think that the solitaire thing was there as one of the only instances where you can look back and be like, oh, okay, he was alone. Like, he didn't kill her necessarily. He was just alone at home. Because who plays solitaire after killing someone? But even then, that's like a stretch. Like, it's still such a stretch to see that as any way indicating that he didn't kill his wife.
I love, too, that this is filmed during the era where they just assumed that a man alone in the house can only prepare a TV dinner.
Yep.
Remember, that was always like a thing where it's like, oh, if the wife is out, well, the man's definitely going to be at home eating TV dinners.
Or he's going to get himself a chicken dinner.
A chicken dinner, yeah, Pet Cemetery style.
Pet Cemetery style. Yeah, it's crazy. I did see somebody tweeted this the other day. It was like, Remember in the 2000s when we came up with the term metrosexual to describe a man who bathes?
Yeah, and is useful.
Yeah, like it really hasn't been that long, Ben. That's
true.
Like, just not that long ago, men were like, and still, the majority of men in this country are absolute slobs who don't take care of themselves and see taking a shower every once in a while as a gift to the world, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Or see, preparing food to feed yourself to sustain your life as being effeminate somehow.
Yeah, if you do that, you might as well just suck a dick.
I don't need to eat. What do you think I am, gay?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just the weird, like, because we're not that far away from it.
That's
20
true.
years.
That's true. Yeah, it's not really all that long.
20 years ago, and even now, like, it still is a similar thing where it's like, as a man, the expectation of knowing how to take care of yourself is still pretty fucking low.
Right. Yeah.
It's depressing.
In addition to all those red herrings too, like something that I thought was pretty lame and just superfluous and just definitely needed rewriting in this is this like quest for artifacts that runs through this movie. I mean, there's the bloody shoe, there's the cut off pigtail of the dead girl that she uses, there's the key, there's the box, there's the necklace.
Right.
Like, is this a fucking game of Clue? What is this?
I think it might be.
Because seriously, it's like there's so many little items that she just happens to stumble across that are all connected. And again, like seeing that necklace in the window in the town of Adam Ant.
Yeah.
That's a big clue. Like, that's so stupid.
The necklace was probably the thing they referenced the most throughout the movie. And the first time they reference it, it is so overt. Like, she's looking at a picture of the girl and then stares at the fact that she can't see the whatever the thing is on the necklace. She just like, and the camera focuses on that. It just focuses on a necklace.
Her neck?
Yeah, like we're all confused as to what a necklace is. But like, that's the only way
Never
to play
seen anything like that before.
Yeah, that's the only way to play off why she's so confused. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The chick is just wearing a necklace and she's staring at it like that must be a clue to a thing I'm not even sure is a mystery yet because I have no idea what's happening. I'm just looking at a picture.
And the green eyes thing is the same way too.
Yeah, oh my god, the green eyes thing.
The green eyes thing, man.
That enrages
It's like, this is the kind
me.
of deal, man, where it's like, they should have just picked one. It's like, take all of these little clues and artifacts you have, and let's, narrow it down to just one or two.
Yeah.
Focus on those.
And this is where, like, because, I mean, you can't be mad at Clark Gregg, actor who's never written a script that's been shot up to this point, for having written what may not be a great screenplay. But when you hand it to Steven Spielberg, who reads it and says, my friend Bob Zemeckis would love this.
No, he's got blackmail on him. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
like,
something's
there's
up.
a blackmail
right?
situation here.
Like, how did that ever happen? That makes no sense. Anyway, so, I don't see why the green eyes thing, though, other than I think Zemeckis, likes working with newer film technologies and stuff. That's one of his big things. Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like all that stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And so I think maybe in a lot of ways DreamWorks was trying to show off what they could do technologically, because the green eye,
fancy CGI,
right, exactly. In 2000, that it's kind of the big deal, right? To show off what you can do with your computers. So they're showing off that they can make Michelle Pfeiffer's eyes, which are already a pale blue, look green.
Ooh.
Wow.
The CGI in this, like, some of it is okay. Some of it's better than you would expect for the year 2000. And then a lot of it is just as bad as you'd expect for the year 2000. And completely superfluous.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Why? One of the biggest, why moments is when she's looking in the bath and the bath water is CGI. Because they wanted to show a reflect. Oh god, the setup of that shot is enraging as well. Because the setup of that shot is 1/3 Michelle Pfeiffer, 2/3 open water. which makes you obviously know something's going to appear in that water. And
that's true.
And it stays on that shot for far too long. That's the type of thing you cut to real quick and show the thing. You don't
totally
show that shot, wait a little bit, then show the thing. Like, it's... And also, how did she know that the thing she saw in the reflection, how did she know its eyes were green? That's the one thing she recognized.
Yeah, she's like, it looks like me, but the eyes were green. How the fuck could you tell that in the reflection in some bath water?
And Amber Valletta does not look like Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, they're both blonde ladies that are pretty. That's it.
That's about it, though. Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, too, because, like, even that scare being so crap is so inconsistent with some of the other stuff in the movie. Like, there's some other things in this where there's some spooky shit that's actually really well done.
There's some good build-up of tension at times,
Yeah, that first time that she goes down to the docks and like you can just barely see, like, is that a body under the water?
Or
that's is
really
it not?
Good.
Is it just the reflections playing a trick on my eye? Like, that's actually really great. At that point, I was still on board with the movie, and I was like, man, that's good because it's subtle.
Yeah, and the dog was there too, and that, I mean, that's something we know from our, like, you know, from past movies about hauntings and things like that. The dog reacts to the ghosts and things. So, like, all of that is a great setup for, like, oh, this is gonna be about a ghost, and then it's like, no, it's about the next door neighbors, but there's kind of a ghost. Okay, no, it's not about the next door neighbors. It's all about the ghost. No, actually, it's about the husband, but there's kind of a ghost.
Dude, the thing about it, too, that's so frustrating to me is, like, after being led around for over 2 hours, around all of these red herrings and these artifacts and these mystical things and these ghosts that are trying to tell her, you know, and all this kind of shit like this. At the end of the day, it turns out that she saw Harrison Ford having this affair, and she was like, oh, I forgot because I hit my head in a car crash. Yep. I remember now. Like, that's the twist.
So none of the other stuff was even necessary. You could have just have her having flashes of memory and investigating them.
Yeah, what does this mean? What could that be? I have visions of you and a green-eyed woman. What is this?
Yeah. All of that could have, like, come to play, and you could eliminate the supernatural element entirely, and then you just have an interesting thriller.
Because, dude, do you need to have elements of amnesia, lapses in memory, possession, suspected, killing of your neighbor by her evil husband or whatever, affairs? Like, do you need all of this stuff to tell this fucking story?
Okay.
It's so lame to me that at the end it's just like, oh yeah, I did see that. That's the end of the movie. Oh, I remember. I seen it. Come on, dude. That's stupid as fuck.
So Emily and I were talking when we watched this the other night, and I just said, like, this movie has no reference point if you're not upper middle class and white. Like, seriously, think about this. They show that the next door neighbor's house is shabby. It's
that
still
house is
gigantic and gorgeous, but it's
on
shabby.
The lake. and it's on the water.
It's like the only reference point they have for how poor people would live would be like, I guess they don't take care of their house or whatever.
Wow.
And these are like, they're professors. Professors make okay money. They could not afford these fucking houses. I just, like, the idea that a bunch of rich white guys were like, let's represent how a woman might feel when she, because when the kids leave, like, she definitely has nothing else to do except, I guess, cook, right?
That's it, yeah.
Like, the concept at the beginning is that, first off, everybody's rich and white. Second off, women do not work. That is just, what? Who? What? Like, even when they go to the school, if you pay attention, all the people that work there are men.
That's true.
And then at the parties, it's the men and their wives. Like, this is a world that is so disconnected from any sort of reality that I recognize that I think it may have been easier in 2000, and maybe why more people connected to it but because there was more of a middle class in 2000.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappeared a lot over the past 20 years.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but really all there is to her character is like, I used to play cello. I don't anymore because I had baby. Oh, I hit my head. I forgot stuff. Like, that's her character. That's it.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, you could use things like that. Like, you could use her having lapses of memory in her own life. You could use her putting down passions that she used to have because of her family obligations and stuff, and turn this into a movie about a woman rediscovering herself and seeing through her husband's infidelities and shit like this. But they didn't.
If they had played up the memory loss bit, like, she could have remembered a conversation she had with the next door neighbor wife that made her think that the guy might kill her, and then, like, because she doesn't remember, say that the chick left or something, she confronts him like, why did you kill your wife? And he's like, what are you talking, like, she's just in, wherever, Boston or something. Like, it's all about her loss. It's all about her loss of memory, not just, suddenly I don't remember how people behave.
Well, and two, like, that could totally play into, again, this is just easy ways to make this fucking movie better. This could easily play into the fact that if Harrison Ford was trying to manipulate her and make her doubt her own memories and sanity, there could have been stuff the whole movie where he was like, I told you about that. You forgot because of your head injury. Yeah. No, you did. That didn't happen. It's your head injury. Like, he could have used that to gaslight her and stuff the whole movie. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I wrote that down when I was taking notes the first time. I was like, gaslighting? Because I was thinking, like, maybe that's where it's going. Like, it just, like, it's hard to get a sense of where it's going. Maybe people watched this a second time hoping it would have that, like, Sixth Sense, Stir of Echoes thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, maybe that's why it made so much money, because people saw it twice. Like, people saw it once and they were like, boy, I had trouble following that movie. And they came to watch it again and they were like, nothing to follow. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? When you look at it that way, $100 million budget, maybe it actually did just barely make $150 million, which is barely over budget after advertising. Yeah. And then everybody saw it twice because they were like, I must have fallen asleep and missed something.
There's no way that Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford would be in a movie that just doesn't make any sense in the end, right?
No way. Yeah, this is on me. I missed something here.
Yeah. It's upsetting in the end because, like, I think Michelle Pfeiffer does a great job in this. I think Harrison Ford does a fine job, but I think he has the problem of not being able to attach himself to the role, really. Like,
well, yeah, because his role is just like he's a dutiful, maybe somewhat aloof husband for a lot of it, and then at the end he's like, I guess I kill people.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Get in that water. It's just like... Yeah, like when he talks about, like, having killed the what was her name? Oh shit, Madison. Mm-hmm. By the way, Madison was probably a popular baby name around now, but there were no adults named Madison in the year 2000. So when he's talking about having killed her, he does suddenly look like a psychopath. Yeah. Like, it's like, he just doesn't care. But
it's such an about face.
Yeah, all up to this point, he hasn't exhibited any signs of that. He doesn't seem to have superficial charm. He seems to actually care about her. He seems to actually be invested in his work and not just trying to get ahead. But then, like, they turn that around and say that somehow that's what he's doing, that he's trying to get ahead. Like, I never understood that part. Because he talks about meeting that one professor who wrote a book that he really likes. And then the professor said something about his dad, and, like, he took it as, like, an insult. I didn't get his entire story. What was he like? He's supposed to be living in his dad's shadow, but, like, he doesn't play it off as though he's living in anyone's shadow. He just seems like Indiana Jones at home when he doesn't have anything else to do. Like, that's just probably how he is. Just like, I'm reading a book or whatever. Like,
yeah, I didn't really get the arc of why he turned out the way that he did. It just seemed like a very sudden, like, 180. Like, I guess I'm the killer because there has to be a bad guy in this movie.
I almost feel like with Harrison Ford, like, I don't know how he gets into roles. He seems like he's probably the type of guy who doesn't put too much effort into trying to make himself the character. He's more of the character is Harrison Ford type of guy.
Yeah, Christopher Walken type.
Yeah. I wonder if he just didn't read the whole script. And so he was playing the whole first of the movie the way the script read. Like, oh, I'm a good husband.
Yeah.
Then he got to those last bits and he's like, what?
I'm a bad guy, I guess.
I'm a bad guy, you just wait.
And the thing is, too, is like, even at the end, after, Michelle Pfeiffer puts the pieces together, has him call the cops on himself, which is dumb as fuck, by the way.
Yeah, and it's obvious, like, of course he's going to dial a fake. Now, even while he was dialing it, this is before I had seen the movie. While he was dialing it, I was like, I'd dial a fake number if I were him.
Yeah, obviously. Of
and
course.
That's what he did. Duh.
Yeah, and you know how you do. After you call the cops, you go, I'm going to go take a shower now.
Uh-huh.
What?
And by the way, you can tell when someone's in the shower and when the shower's just running.
I know. There is an audible difference. Absolutely. Yeah, people in movies, they don't fucking get it, man.
They don't. They don't. No.
But like, even the fact that he's like, well, I'm really hosed now. Guess I gotta murder my wife. It would have been such a cool, like, power dynamic and power play for him to be like, nobody will believe you. Your head injury crazy lady.
Right. Yes, that's exactly where I thought it was going to go. I really, truly did not expect it to go like, well, I guess I gotta kill you.
I'm caught now.
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, it really, it was missing so much throughout. But I'll tell you this, while watching it, it didn't enrage me in the way like a Final Destination enraged me, where it's like, oh, I get the rules of your movie. They're stupid.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like the movie just doesn't try hard enough to make you mad even.
Exactly. It's apathy. Like that's the one thing you'll hear about professional wrestling is you want to hear boos or cheers. Mm-hmm. You don't want anything in the middle. You want
Silent
it to be
Room
all
is the
cheers,
worst.
all boos. You don't want just like, who's that? Yeah. This is just a who's that movie.
There's just so many questions that I have too, where like even at the very end of the movie, which is like kind of suspenseful, where she's like driving in the truck and he's back there in the bed of the truck and all that stuff. It's reasonably suspenseful.
Yeah.
And then she happens to drive off the bridge and just have dead ass balls accurate aim to land on the vehicle containing the corpse of the other woman that he killed. Incredible accuracy right there.
I'm glad.
But then the thing is like, okay, we've dealt with visions of ghosts and stuff in this movie, but you're telling me that in the universe that this movie exists, reanimated corpse will be dragging somebody down into the water. Like, you're telling me that the ghost will take corporeal form and reanimate a corpse that's living in the bottom of the water, physically grab somebody and pull them down.
And that form is not consistent. The first time you see her, she looks like she just died a second ago.
Yeah.
Then she's like more decayed and then differently
she's
decayed.
Like, now I can rest now.
Yeah, it's...
What the fuck universe is this in?
I don't know. I'm glad you just mentioned the bridge because I'm reminded of how many times this movie, it like almost yells, hey, pay attention to this detail.
This'll matter later. They're coming up with a secret drug that'll paralyze rats, but they can still be totally conscious and breathing, but they can't move their bodies. Think that'll matter later? Maybe. Wink, wink.
I like that they also added the detail. Works for about 5 minutes. Sometimes 3. What? But as they're crossing the bridge, he pulls out his cell phone, and she's like, remember, you don't get service until halfway through the bridge.
That's not clumsy exposition at all.
What? And I mean, like, I get that you need exposition, but when you find yourself delivering such heavy-handed exposition, maybe you need to rethink the way the story develops. If the story hinges on people knowing what halothane is, then maybe just don't use halothane.
Yeah. Maybe there's a better way around
show
this.
him injecting her with something. We all get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to describe exactly what the drug does. Yes.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing where it's like it shows very little faith in the audience to put the pieces together. You know, like there's movies that we've done where it's just like, man, I love that this movie trusts that the audience will figure out themselves without spelling everything out directly for us. Like there's movies that do that very well. And then there's other movies that strand you and you're like, I have no idea what's going on here, nor could I. And then there's stuff like this that just spoon feeds it to you so much that you're like, yeah, I get it. I know.
Yeah. And when they do, if you're going to spoon feed something to someone, like, make sure it's spoon feedable. Like, don't like just be dipping your spoon in 15 different things and shoving it in somebody's mouth. Like, really make it a digestible bite.
Right.
Like a simple story, not something where you're constantly twisting and turning and where nobody could possibly catch up with you because you haven't given them the information or the time.
Sure, totally, man. Yeah, this is one of those ones that would have been, I think, a good candidate for another episode of, you know, watch that, not this, that we do sometimes on the Preview Palace, because there's so many things where you see in this movie like, oh, okay, I get it. If they would have let that idea marinate for 48 hours, they could have had Memento, or they could have had Hereditary,
for sure,
or any of those movies, you know, or The Gift. The Gift is another one kind of from that era.
The Gift, for sure, yeah. Sam Raimi, written by Billy Bob Thornton, much better movie than this, but still very similar in a lot of ways. But it's consistent. It all makes sense. You understand why the things are happening instead of it being like the thing happens and now you have to try to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie just feels like it really tried to cram too many horror tropes into itself without actually fully committing to being a horror movie. I mean, like I said, Possession, Witch Book, Ouija board, like reanimated corpses, ghosts, like all this shit that like reeks of horror movies, but then it's not really a horror movie.
I'm glad you brought up the Ouija board because so she buys the Ouija board. I had that exact same Ouija board.
No doubt.
It was a Parker Brothers, I believe. And she got it at Kmart. I did as well.
Oh shit.
For my 11th birthday, my mom gave me money and I walked to Kmart and walked out with a Ouija board, and a week later returned it because guess what, Ben? It didn't work.
No.
And I remember the manager laughing as I handed it to him. And he was like, all right.
He's like, fair enough. I'll take it. Of course it didn't fucking work. That's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't really know what they were thinking, and it's just so... It's so long and it's so repetitive. Like, dude, how many times does she come in and the door is already open and that fucking picture's falling down again? Like, it's so repetitive.
Oh, also, Emily asked this question. I didn't even notice it. You know when she finds that key, which...
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
It's like down in that vent for some reason.
She's down in that vent. The vent goes to nowhere. It is a vent to a lower part of the floor. Like, there's no hole in the vent.
Yeah, it would have fallen down in there.
It just falls through the vent to just another like level of floor that's a quarter inch lower than the other floor. Like, what the fuck was that vent for? It really was just there so the key would fall into it? Like,
that follows the logic of the rest of the movie, I guess.
Like, the set design couldn't have just put some hole in it somewhere.
Yeah, any better way for her to find that, man. Yeah, I know what you mean. And like I said, that just goes into that whole artifact hunt that was just stupid and a waste of time.
It really was.
It's just long, dude. Like, usually whenever we're done with one of these movies and I'm taking notes for it, you know, usually after we're done, it's like while the credits are rolling, I'll scribble down a bunch of my initial reactions about the movie and thoughts about like, oh, this could have meant this. This is a commentary on this and that. I'll put those down in the margins of my notes, and it's like literally the only note that I wrote down after this is over is feels like 2 hours. That's all I wrote. It does.
It feels like a whole 2 hours.
And I mean, we've done so many other movies on this show that's just like, I can't believe that was 2 hours. It just flew by. This absolutely felt like 2 hours.
This could be seen as more of a meditation. Like, it's like a way to make your brain operate a lot in 2 hours without actually making you stress about the world. Because you're so like laser focused on this movie and it not ever coming to a point where it makes sense or connecting to any real world issue or really being something that you would ever experience in your own life. But it makes that 2 hours go by without you really paying attention to anything else. Like, I really did find myself watching this the whole time, just like, okay, so where's that gonna go? Like my brain was like, these things have to work together.
It just reminded me of watching Lost.
Just don't.
It's like watching Lost, where you're like, this has to mean something. And then it's like, nah, it doesn't.
It's so much like Lost. It has to mean something. And at the end, it doesn't. And you're just like, the fuck, man? Like,
then why was it in there?
6 years? And you
I mean, obviously we've had a lot of negative things to say about the movie. I mean, there are a few positives to it.
Sure.
The soundtrack is really good.
Great. Alan Silvestri is amazing. Always nails it. Yep.
It's very, very like old school classic Hitchcock kind of way, like very big dramatic string sections and stuff. I like the soundtrack a lot. It was very suspenseful and added a lot to the movie, and it needed something to add to it. So the soundtrack really was better than this movie needed to be, and Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford's performances were better than this movie needed to be. Sure. There's no moment where I was just like, man, that's just some fucking garbage dialogue, or like that was delivered super weird. Everybody in the movie was good. Yeah, that's true. I think the chemistry between Michelle Pfeiffer and Diana Scarwood, who plays Jodie, is really good. They do have more of a like natural banter to them. There are positives, and it's definitely been an inspiration, I would say, because if you watch Ringu and then watch this, you see how they got to The Ring. Because The Ring is a remake of Ringu, but it's not. It doesn't follow Ringu that closely. It's much closer to this with the like slow revelations and things, and the rain, the constant rain, the huge amount of water involved. Like, it really does visually remind me of The Ring, and also like the story kind of develops in a lot of the same ways. And also Pretty Blonde Lady as the star, but. The Ring actually goes somewhere. Like, all of the things that they reveal in The Ring is like, oh, this is all leading to Samara. It doesn't have that. So it definitely has inspired, though. The Ring, American Horror Story Season 1, the setup of the family is essentially the same. He got a doctor who cheated with one of his students. Pretty wife who's slowly discovering all these things in her house, the ghosts, basically. Like, they also used music from What Lies Beneath in season 1 of American Horror Story, just as a further indication that it was an inspiration. Yeah, it's pretty on the nose right there. Yeah. So this movie had definitely some positive effect, and I think it exists in a time that we just can't recapture. So like, we can never understand why people liked it so much, but I do think we've kind of gotten at it where it's like kind of a limited thing. Like, there just weren't as many options of entertainment 20 years ago, and really, like, it's a Robert Zemeckis movie starring Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. Like, in 20 years ago, you hear that, you're like, that's a pretty safe bet with my ticket dollars. Yeah, totally. So I can see why a lot of people wouldn't watch it. But I'm surprised by how many people still love it. But I wonder what the last time they saw it was, honestly. It's kind of like, to me, it kind of reminds me of people that still talk about the Halloween franchise and all the sequels, like they really love them. And I'm like, I don't know. When's the last time you watched part 5? Because it's pretty rough. It's bad. It's not good at all, you know? Yeah. I think maybe some of the, but like, I think that as I was saying, the nostalgia must be warranted. Like, there was a time when this captured something that people were feeling. I remember liking it when it came out. Yeah, when I watched it at that party, I remember having a good time, and my buddy Josh was always really into this one too, because we were like, yeah, it's not really a straight horror thing. It's like a psychological thing, and it has cool elements to it. But yeah, going back to it, not really.
Yeah, just doesn't still have the same effect, which I think is kind of it's a good thing for Hollywood, really, when they see that the landscape has changed and they can't do these things anymore.
Yeah.
Like now that you get instant feedback and like everything is now. I mean, there's definitely negatives to that, but I think it has helped entertainment to get more streamlined to what people actually like instead of going for the widest possible audience, which I think this hits in a lot of ways because it has all the things that a wide audience would love. Big names, looks great, awesome music, and pretty people, and then also a story that develops in a way that at least makes you think it's going somewhere. Despite the fact that it doesn't get there, at least it leads you along, and really did have me like just paying attention to it the first time I watched it. So
sure,
it's got a lot going for it.
It's effective in some ways, but just, overall not one that I'm exactly chomping at the bit to watch again. I really wanted to rewatch it before we did this podcast. I just watched it the one time the other night. I wanted to watch it again, but I just really had a hard time being like, yeah, but I could watch all this other stuff instead.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I could watch A Mighty Wind instead of this. I could, clean my bathroom countertops instead of this. It's like it's just such a huge chunk of time to watch this again. I just couldn't find the inspiration to do it, and I don't see myself watching this again anytime soon, man. What kind of a rating would you slap on this thing?
Okay, so this is nowhere near as good as my middle of the road movie. So, gosh, where do I put it? It's probably around like 2.5 to 3, probably.
Yeah.
But like, I'm gonna look toward 3. I'm gonna say it's a little bit higher than 2.5 because the performances are good, and like you feel bad at the end of this that all of the positives didn't add up to a positive ending. Like, because this could have had a really positive ending where, like, you do want to go back and watch it again and see the stuff that you maybe missed. But it really just does not develop into that. And so it just, unfortunately, doesn't hold up, I guess, to what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think for me, I will give this, an extra little bonus because the soundtrack is good. There are some good subtle scares in there, and Pfeiffer and Harrison's chemistry on screen is good and it's competently shot and stuff. So I think I'll go for a rare 0.75 rating here. I think I'm gonna say like 3.75.
Whoa, damn.
Yeah. Totally not in a rush to watch this again anytime soon, man. Wouldn't strongly recommend it, especially when there's just so many movies out there that do everything this tried to do.
Yeah, but better.
And exactly. And they just pick one concept at a time and do it rather than try to do them all in the same movie. And it turns out none of them really matter,
You know what this movie actually reminded me of, and not in the exact way the story plays out, but in the way the reveals and stuff. It reminded me of the Lindsay Lohan movie I Know Who Killed Me. And just so you know, in that movie, she has a robot arm and leg, and it is not a movie about the future. That's just a side plot.
I love it already.
Got a robot arm and leg.
I love it already. I definitely need to watch that one now as a palate cleanser, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Steve, next week on the show, we're going to be drawn out of that smoking bowl of Patreon picks because everybody that signs up for the Patreon page at the $5 or above, if you care to donate, level, gets to toss in a movie suggestion into the smoking bowl that we randomly draw out, usually the fourth episode of every month, right?
Yeah, and that episode is Scream 2.
OMG! I cannot wait to see that movie for the first time or again, depending on what movie it is that you drew out of the bowl that you're going to edit into the episode later.
Same, Ben. I'm excited or less than excited.
Yeah, I can or cannot wait to see that. Well, you guys be sure to tune in next time and check out our thoughts on the aforementioned movie. In the meantime, do us a huge favor. Go on iTunes, rate, and review. I say iTunes. I'm so old. Now it's just like whatever, Apple Music or whatever, right? Apple Podcasts, I guess.
Podcasts. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm old. Leave me alone. Get off my cloud and get out of my lawn. I think that's how it goes, right? I don't know. But go on wherever you can review the show. Review it. Leave a 5-star review. Leave yourself a good review that's G-rated, and they'll post it, and it really helps us out. Put up a question at the end of your review that we'll answer on a future Preview Palace FAQ segment like we did last week. Those are always a lot of fun. So be sure to leave yourself a question at the end of your review. Really helps us out a ton. And you guys can also follow us on the social media.
That's right, at Dead Lovely Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Also, as we said, head on over to patreon.com/Dead and Lovely. Become a patron. If you're a $5 patron, you get to randomly. So fuck shit.
Just leave that in. That was good.
Okay. If you're a $5 patron, you get to submit a title, and we randomly draw next week's movie, which is, of course, Scream 2.
That one
was randomly drawn.
Woo! Well, yeah, you guys have been fantastic. Hope everybody out there is doing well, staying happy and healthy and sane, and staying home as much as you fucking can. Be sure to wash your hands and your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And tune into the show next week. We look forward to hearing from you guys and catching up with you on the Facebook group, Discord page, all that kind of stuff. So stay in touch with us. Holla at your boy, and tune in next week for another episode of Dead and Lovely. Well, you guys have been fantastic as always. We have been Uncle Ben,
Hollywood Steve,
and we'll catch you guys in about a week.
Bye.
Bye. All right, Steve, so we were doing the thing that we've all been doing, of course, during lockdown, and doing some deep cleaning the other day, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I had assigned myself the task of like fully deep cleaning our bathroom, going in there, getting in all those nooks and crannies and stuff, and really making sure I got everything clean, right?
Okay.
So in the process of doing this, I started cleaning off the top of all the counters and the cabinets in there.
Mm-hmm.
And there next to the sink, there is a towel cabinet that's about like 12 feet high. It's really, really tall. So I've never seen the top of it. So I went and got myself a chair, and I stood up on the counter where the sink is. That way I could dust off the top of this thing. And I found a startling artifact from the people that apparently lived here maybe before us, maybe many times before us. I'm not sure. But I took a photograph of these artifacts. I'm going to send it to you right now. I want you to describe.
Okay.
I want you to describe to the listeners what it is that you're seeing.
Well, it looks to me, Ben, like it's 4 cans of well, we got a can of Skull and 3 cans of Grizzly.
Just some old
Backer. Chaw.
That somebody had hidden on top of this counter.
That's sad. Oh no. Hiding his chaw habit.
And every time he wanted to go get him a dip, he had to like climb up on there.
What if it was Robert Wadlow, that 11-foot dude from the Guinness Book of World Records?
He'd have no problem with that.
Yeah, no problem.
That's just a shelf to him. It's not hidden at all. So that's some new old stock chaw up there, man. I was really excited though. Like I was hoping that I would open them up and find that it was actually full of like diamonds or rubies.
That
would
have been amazing. Yeah.
It was just a bunch of old dried out dip though.
So probably no value.